Alright, so we got this Stihl MS391 today. The owner said that he would like for it to run better. So we're going to see if we can do that for him. The only thing I've done with this since I got it is I did start it and it idled and ran, seemed to rev up okay, so it's got that going for it, but that's as far as I've gone with it. So we're going to run it a little bit here. It's got a 24, 25, I think, still 25 inch, I guess they call it, with a 3/8 full chisel, full skip chain on it. Anyways, so we're going to give it a little preliminary run here and see what it's got going for it before we try and help it out a little. I've not checked the jetting or anything. We're just going to kind of show you guys the process from start to finish of what I go through when I get these. Sometimes they're good right off the hop, other times not. So it started and ran probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, so this is definitely a cold start. Maybe it wants a little high idle for a minute. So cold, this thing's showing that it's tuned on the high side to 11.6. Find it hard to believe that it's that rich, but possibility. So we'll make a couple. Anyways, point being, it's well below the rev limiter. So, or I'm guessing, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I don't know what the rev limiter is set at. These I'll have to check, but I can't imagine it's 11.6. I guess probably more like 13 maybe, but I'll have to look and find out. Regardless, we're going to make a few cuts like this and see how it does. Wait a couple more cuts, get it good and hot. This is some old dry hard maple. It's been sitting around for a couple years now. It does have rot in the middle, a little, a little bit here, but everything else around that pretty dang solid. So we're not going for any crazy testing here, but that's what we got for test wood anyways. So this thing's reading 11.6 for the high. Usually when it hits the rev limiter, this thing kind of goes nuts and it's an easy telltale sign. This time it's not doing it and all it's getting to is 11.6. It sure sounds like it's turning higher than that to me, but we're gonna monkey with it a little bit. Coming back down to idle though, it's hanging for some time. You can see there I did it a few times. That's not a real comforting symptom. Could just be the low jet needs to be tuned, but the way it hangs up there like that and then all of a sudden will drop down and idle leads me to think, you know, maybe it's got a little diaphragm issue in the carburetor, or the needle needs to be set, or hopefully not the case, but the latter. Not so fun one of that is that there's an air leak somewhere, but seems to run pretty okay though. You know, it's not trying to stall out in the cut. It's not going super lean. So we're gonna have to dig into it a little bit, but at least we have some sort of a idea how it runs right now. Okay. So I don't like that at all. I'm not gonna keep running it with those symptoms. It's just not wise. But we're gonna pull the top off real quick here, maybe. You know, when you can talk, when you do these things, a lot of times somebody will bring you a saw and maybe it's not theirs. You know, maybe it's a friend of theirs or father's or something. You know, if you can talk directly to the owner, you get a good idea of what he thinks make it run better means. You know, is it hard to start? Does it run crappy after it's made a few cuts? It runs great. I just want a little more pep out of it. Things that you can talk to the actual owner about. When it comes secondhand, sometimes you don't know what that is. You know, you don't know what any of the issues are. Make it run better could mean a lot of things. So you got to do a lot more investigating than if somebody has a couple symptoms, then maybe you got a place to start. But this is the same place you have to start if you bought one, you know, used somewhere and the person didn't know the history on it or wasn't willing to say or anything. This is where you got to start. So here we go. Alright, this thing's obviously got an issue, so it ain't getting tuned out of it out here. We'll take it back in the garage and start digging into it. Alright, so we're getting this carburetor pulled apart. And here we are again. First thing I see when I open this up, this isn't sawdust. This is gel crystals from freaking ethanol fuel. People, stop running ethanol fuel in your small engines if you can avoid it. Goodness. It just causes so many problems. Regardless, it's not my favorite thing to see when I first opened up a carburetor. So I would guess we're going to have a few other issues. So we'll pull this all apart and get it in the ultrasonic and go from there. Okay, I swear I never get any of this stuff on camera, but I pulled this carb apart, and even after going through the ultrasonic, the action on the throttle shaft was really like lazy to return. Like it was almost gummed up inside where the shaft rides through the carb body. So when you activate the throttle, if you will, when you let go, it wouldn't just snap back. It would like snap back and go ooh, slow. It would close all the way, but it was really slow. So I'm just wondering if maybe once it's all bolted down and there's a little bit of tension, it was holding it open and it would just sit there for a while and then it would finally close. So all I did was, after it came out of the ultrasonic, just squirted some penetrant down on the outside where the shaft goes into the carb body and on the inside, and worked it around a bunch. And now when you let go, oops, it snaps right back. So it was not doing that before. Of course, why would I get that on camera? But regardless, I'm thinking maybe that was the issue. So maybe we got lucky. I mean, it needed to be cleaned. It had a bunch of buildup from the ethanol anyways, but maybe we killed two birds here. But I'm wondering if that was more of an issue than the other stuff, because the diaphragms really don't seem too bad. So. Enough to piss off the good humor man. I'll tell you that much. Frustrations. All right, I'm 99% positive I found my issue. The other day I mentioned that this throttle felt like it was sticking, right? Like it wouldn't shut, like it was lazy to shut. Well, I'm not so sure it was actually the throttle shaft and butterfly, but this top one for the straddle port, see if I can get it. It may not do it again, but I got it to do it 2 or 3 times here. But when you give this thing throttle, how does this work, you think here? When you give that thing throttle, it it just did it. Anyways, so when you give it throttle, it contacts that blade to open up the fresh air, right? No air, no fuel mixture coming through it, right? Look at it right there. See that throttle blade on top? See that gap? It's not shutting all the way. Oop, doesn't take much, but I think that's hanging up. So when you give it throttle, whop, wide open, you let go, it's not shutting. Look at that. You can see that big old gap right there, right? Whop. Look at that. Look how much it hangs open. And then it doesn't take much, boop, and it shuts. So I think that thing's hanging open sometimes, not every time. Look at that. Okay, and it's causing that hanging idle. So we're going to lube this up first and see if we can fix it. And if not, we'll have to just unscrew that and see if we can get the blade to seat a little better. But I am almost 100% positive that's what's causing my hanging idle. Sorry, I'm rambling here. I'm just excited because I've been chasing this around a little bit. So see what we can do to get that to close on its own properly here. Okay, so this is something else. Like, you know, when you just get into this stuff when you're trying to chase things down. So I initially thought it was this throttle linkage, right? The shaft and the blade and everything, that was stiff because it feels stiff. Well, if you move it in the range where it's not contacting that upper blade for the strato side, it's very smooth and free feeling. Like, I mean, effortless, snaps right back, no problem. When it gets stiff feeling or gritty is when you're actuating that top half when it's in contact with it. So little things to pay attention to when you're, you know, getting into these things. Just slow down sometimes, because I don't. I get in a bad habit of full steam ahead and trying to figure out 18 million things and of what you think it is, because it's the common stuff that it should be, and it ends up being something like this. So I'm pretty positive we're onto something. So we're going to get this thing lubed up and see if we can't make it operate a little better. But my point was, slow down, feel, use all your senses when you're going through these things. Listen to things, look at them, feel them, taste them. Hell, I don't care. But pay attention anyways, I guess is all I'm saying. Because I have a tendency to not sometimes. All right, so all I did was squirt a bunch of watered down 40 in there. And it feels all sorts of smooth now. I mean, the action is just like effortless. It felt gritty and kind of tight before. And it shuts like right now every time. Nothing hanging open. Gotta love these strato saws. So now that we got this carburetor cleaned out, you can hear the throttle response is much better. Not lightning quick throttle response, but it doesn't have that big stumble off idle anymore. Okay, so when it comes to getting these mufflers in half, I just put them in the vise like that, pinch them, put my screwdriver underneath that little rolled lip, and I just pop it out all the way around. And the two halves will come apart. Alright, so then once I get that pried off more or less all the way around, the corners don't matter so much. I just take and stick a small screwdriver down in, give it a little pry, and well, try and do this one-handed, but you get the idea. It'll just pry right apart. Sorry, it was a pain trying to do it one-handed, but it just pops right apart. And you don't have to go this far. This is already opened up pretty substantial getting to that outlet, but I just want you guys to be able to see what the inside of these look like. So there's the muffler screen. We'll pull that out and you'll be able to see, the opening. But that hole definitely can be enlarged a little bit, and also on the inside here. Okay, so here we are. We got this thing all gutted out and opened up. Opened up where that spark screen slides into in there. you know, it slides in to that spot. I didn't do a very good job of getting it before. Well, what am I doing here? There we go. Didn't do a very good job of getting it before, but before that, where it's all basically the muffler housing itself covered up part of the slot where that screen was. It overlapped it. So now it's opened up as wide as the screen is. And then I also if I can get that out of there. Then I also opened up that factory outlet quite a bit in there. So anyways, overall it's opened up quite a bit more. You know, it wasn't terrible to begin with, to be honest with you, but so of course the easiest thing to do, instead of screwing around with all that, is just to put another port on the top. Use like a red 97 deflector or something, or on the side, you know, or whatever you want. But my point is, it'd be easier just to cut, you know, something in the side of the muffler for more flow. But I like to keep things looking factory, so that's the way I do them. And for some people, they like to retain a factory spark screen, or a spark screen, I should say. So, I mean, this thing's going to run way better without it, but I want it to have the best chance it can if they do want to run with it in. So, granted, that's not a huge hole. Once you cover up all the, or consider the cross-sectional area covered by the screen itself, it's not huge. But I want it to flow as good as it can into that spot and out of that spot. And with any luck, they won't care, and we can leave the screen out and we'll do even better. But that's how I do them. Slap that back together, grab your pair of pliers, fold that pinch weld back over, and you're good to go. So right or wrong, that's how I do them. Okay. We'll go see how it runs. If nothing else, it's definitely going to breathe better. All right, so we got that pinch weld all crimped back on there, all the way around, and from the front, can't hardly much tell that it was ever apart. So I'd say mission accomplished, and still looks factory, and hopefully it'll breathe a little better. All right, so we got the muffler modified on this thing, so get it started up and tuned and see how it does. Well, as I suspected, it got lean on the high side. We'll give it a little tweak and get it back down into range here. we got this little hanging idle issue fixed. It was frustrating the ever-living daylights out of me. But I feel like we found the issue. So yeah, the throttle response is so much better with this thing muffler opened up. Okay, like we stated earlier, so it's set at 12.2 right now. The limiter is 12.5. I don't know if that's ordinary on this saw or something's goofed up and it's 500 lower than what it's supposed to be. I don't know. But 12.5 is where we found that limiter set at, so it's in a really good place right now. But we're going to start over tuning it so you guys can see how it's done. So basically what we're going to do is make it extremely rich by backing the high jet out. And you could do this, you know, if you knew your factory settings and you're trying to tune it, you're gonna have to remove the limiter caps, of course, but you could basically reset to factory settings, and then you could go like a whole nother turnout on your high jet to make it extremely rich. And then we'll work our way up from there, tuning in the wood.